Okay, and then we're almost done with the trimester. After that test, we just have chapter 8 to get through, and then that's it. It's kind of crazy. And then we're ending with the tri. And then you only have 4 more chapters left, and then you're done with the whole school year. All right. So for 7-4 parallel and proportional parts, we're going to pass out a little sheet of paper. And you can cut.
When you get this, there's a dotted line down the middle. You're going to cut it right in half. So do not cut out each individual little shape.
Just
Cut it right in half on that dotted line.
Yep, just into 2 parts. Right down the middle. Just into 2 parts.
So when you get your paper, it looks like this. You're just going to cut it right on this line into 2 parts. Do not cut out each individual one. You should just have 2 pieces here.
I'm going to write all the things. Alright, we can glue this, maybe leave a couple lines at the top, but then we can glue it maybe 2 or 3 lines down, leave a couple lines blank, 2 or 3 lines blank, and then you can go ahead and glue that in. So leave the for top 2 or 3 lines blank, and then you can glue in that top one. And then the other one can just go right below it. We should have enough. Hopefully. Maybe I should have waited and then we could have glued it in later. Yeah, probably. I'm not planning ahead very well. Okay, so this first one is called the triangle proportionality theorem. I have a lot of words. Triangle proportionality theorem. Lady emailed me and said that the first order never went through, so we're going to have to get new glue sticks. Okay, and what this is it's a theorem, but it can go both ways. So if it tells us one thing, then it tells us the other, but it goes backwards too. If it tells us the other thing, we can go back to the first thing. So one thing that it tells us is if there is a line intersecting the triangle, and is parallel to a side, okay, so what does that word intersect mean? The line intersects a triangle. It goes through, so like in that first one, okay, if it goes through that triangle, and then what does parallel mean again?
They don't touch each other.
Yeah, they run next to each other so they don't touch each other. Good. Okay, if that happens, then it creates proportional measures. It says measures. And that's just a lot of words for a whole lot of things that we probably could already put together in our head. Holy cuteness, I didn't even look at your outfit today. So. Okay, so we see that BE is parallel, and we know it's parallel because it had that arrow, to CD. Does anyone remember what's that symbol that means parallel? If we don't write out the whole word. Yep, the two parallel lines that just don't touch. And BE is parallel to what? CD. Okay. Okay, so since we know that, there's a couple of proportions, there's a couple of ratios we can compare. Okay? If I look at A to B, A to B, we're going to compare to what? A to E. And whatever that ratio is, that's going to be the same ratio of B to C compared to E to D. So those are the parts, or we could compare the whole length. A to C would be compared to A to D. So these are all ways that we can write those proportions, those ratios, based on just knowing that we had those two parallel lines to start. Oh, this one? No. No, sir. Alright, so in this example here, we need to find this missing measure, the question mark. Okay, and remember we always want our variable, or we want our unknown to be where in the ratio?
Top or bottom? Where did we put our variable?
Got a 50-50 chance of guessing. Top or bottom? Top. Thank you. Okay, top. Struggling with the camera. Alright, so we're going to put the question mark in the top. And that question mark is going to be compared to what other side? Or what other amount? 4. Okay, and then what will I put on top for the second part? Is it going to be the 15 or the 10?
Which one would go with that question mark? 15.
15. So we go left to right, which means we want to go again left 15 to right 10. And we can do this because we see that our lines are parallel. That had those little arrows in there that says, yep, it works. Alright, so how am I going to solve this proportion? Somebody said it. multiply by 4. You guys probably think I'm crazy when I say somebody said it, but I did hear someone say it, I promise. Alright, so in our calculator, we're going to do 15. Whoop. Come on, geez. 15 divided by 10 times 4. And we get 6. Alright. Oh my gosh. I'm going to kill this thing. Okay, so now for this next part, we're going to do the same idea. We're going to set up a proportion. Okay, it's kind of hard to see the question mark on mine, but you should be able to see it on your printout. Okay, if I compare that question mark, which part is going to go with that question mark?
What is the corresponding stop?
Somebody say 6? There is no 6, so not 6 if somebody said 6. I go with the 12. Okay, so now when I write ratio, I want to think what goes with that question mark. What other number could I use? 25. And 25 is that whole length.
Does the 25 correspond with the 3? Let's think about this. 25 is showing the whole side. So it's showing the question mark, but it's also showing this little part. What would this little part correspond with? 3. So what do you think the whole line is showing? Can we find the measure of that whole line? We know 25 is the measure of the whole bottom line. Do we have enough information to find the measure of that whole line on the left?
Somebody's mumbling it. I think Ayub was mumbling it. Yeah, we're going to do 3 plus 12. And we'll get 15. So we're going to compare it to 15. Alright, and then when we solve, we're just going to undo that dividing by 12. So to undo a divide by 12, we are going to multiply by 12. Good. And in our calculator, we'll do 25 divided by 15. Times 12. And we get a handy dandy 20. I'm just doing lines so I know which example goes with what work. Alright, we have one more theorem that we're going to learn today. And that has to do with this other glue in. I should have glued in a little bit lower, but I wanted to glue everything in at once and I was impatient. So you can glue in that next one if you have not glued in that one yet. We're going to mark this up a little bit because it did get a little blurry. And we're just going to notice some things about it. So glue that in. All right, what's one marking that you notice on this triangle? Abdirahman, what's one marking you see on this triangle?
What do we know?
What?
Do we know?
What's one of the markings on the triangle that you see? What's a marking or something on the side that you see that tells us something? Yeah, FJ, this is supposed to have 2 tick marks. Thank you. You're a rock star. That is exactly what I was looking for. FJ is congruent to what? JH, which tells us that J is the what?
If we know that those two on either side of it are equal, what could we call J? What is that? Midpoint. You got it.
Okay, what else do we know? You guys were supposed to have so much time for work time today, but this is just painful. What? We know HK is congruent to KG, which means that K is also what? Midpoint. And when we connect those midpoints, if you look at your lines, we see that those lines end up being parallel to the side. Alright, so this is the mid segment, is what we call it. We call it a mid segment of a triangle. You particularly. Why do you think it's called a mid segment? What does it connect? What was J and K? If that's the mid segment, what does it connect? Oofda. Midpoints. Okay, and what we know is that it's half the length of the side that it's parallel to. Alright, so in this problem here, we know that XZ and XY are mid-segments. Okay, so first off, if I look at XZ, that's this one here. Let's color code that. Which side of the bigger triangle is XZ going to be parallel to? Is it parallel to RS, ST, or RT? RT. So if I know that RT is 13, in order to find XZ, I can add you to the list. I know that XZ is going to be half. So what is half of 13? 6.5, yep. Alright, then we know what XY is. XY is 7. So what information can that 7 tell us about which other bigger side? ST, good. Because those are parallel. So if XY is 7, how much will ST end up being? Am I going to half 7 and make it smaller? No. So what are we going to do instead of dividing it by 2? Going to multiply by 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. All right, that is it for our notes. Okay. So, your practice today is in the week 7 folder in Schoology. And it's going to be a lot about writing these proportions. Each piece of paper is going to be really helpful so you can align up what goes with what. A lot of the answers are just going to be asking what's the answer. Okay, so you are going to want to show your work like on a separate sheet of paper or on a whiteboard just so they can keep track of what you're doing. Otherwise, it might get a little confusing.